Welcome back to the channel. I'm Crypto Trend Trader, and today we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please trade at your own risk and don't risk more than you're willing to lose. Alright, so basically we knew we were filling out this descending triangle for a while now, and we did finally get the break from the top range here. Full disclosure, we did short this position, and we're still short in the market. When we got the break of the 92.92 range, we essentially knew we were going to get continuation. One of the first main targets was the 0.5 Fibonacci, which we basically consolidated at. We started getting bearish consolidation, and then we broke down from there. Now we are at a level of interest now because, as you can see, this was consolidation on the way up and our last point of supply here. And now we also have, I'm going to go to a longer time frame here real quick. I just want you to pay attention to the white and the blue line. Alright, so basically this white line is coming from way back, from the previous peak of the bull run up here all the way through capitulation, and then now that's where we're coming into right now. And then the blue line is this solid support from the entire consolidation move. Okay, so as we approach this blue line and this white line, we expect to see in this range right here some kind of a bounce, and we're expecting a big move around that purple fib circle. As you can see, that is from the bottom of capitulation down here, so that's from like the 20,000 high to the 3,000 low, and then the green one's from the 3,000 low to the 14,000 high. And as you'll see, when we approach this one, when we made it through that one previously, that was the start of the bull market. So when we get to this one right here, what we're expecting is essentially a move back up or a big dump off leading up to it and then a move back up. But we're expecting a big move off of that. And now you'll see, depending on how you drew this channel previously before the breakdown from our triangle, you can see I have in purple and then I have it in red. Depending where you're at, you can see I drew one to this first point and kept going even though we got the fake out, and the second one is drawn straight to the top of it. So you can essentially see how people would be looking at it both ways, and you'll see that off of the purple one, the initial way we drew it, the green heart line right here is where we're currently getting that reaction. I'm going to go back to a shorter time frame now, the 4 hour. And you'll see off that heart line now is this green line here where we're getting our reaction. So we made it back above that heart line, and now we're consolidating, and it looks like what's happening here, we're slowly finding support, but it looks like we've now made even smaller channel inside of it, this red one here with the blue heart line there, and we're basically consolidating right here, forming another triangle. And then I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to break down from here and then retest either the center here or all the way at the bottom of this channel, which, if you check that out, what that would do is that would lead us to where we need to be, because I think essentially what we're going to end up doing is we're going to find this zone right here, and that's going to be our bottom for now. Even if we do find consolidation, we'll at least get a strong bounce from there. But this is bearish. This still looks bearish to me. We're basically putting in lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows. Eventually we can expect to see a relief rally from this point, where basically people say they're finally getting a deal, and then they'll buy it up, and then we'll break through and get a shot up to the top. And that could be what we're about to see sometime in the near future. But again, we moved to the top of the range, and now we're consolidating in what looks to be basically another small descending triangle. And that's exactly what we did right here. We formed this triangle right there. We broke down. We started moving up. We formed the opposite action. Matter of fact, I'm going to draw this so you can kind of see it a little more clearly. We basically formed this triangle, and then we got the breakdown. And then from there, we started forming this triangle, and we got the break up. And now from here, we're starting to form this triangle. And I think what's likely to happen is we're going to get the breakdown again. And a lot of times all that is it's market makers putting a wall in to hold price long enough so they can unload their position, but people stop falling for the same trick over and over again. So you get a lower high, lower high, lower high, and then the dump. And then here you get the same high, but higher lows, and then finally people say, oh, it's going, and then it breaks out. And then you'll notice also with the moving averages, a lot of times those will correspond as well. But you can see on the 4-hour, we did get the buy signal here before this move. We are getting the buy signal on Volitile explosion, and on balance volume is basically getting ready to turn back positive, assuming we don't get a dump here in the near future. But you'll see the jewel has a strong upward slope, got the buy signal. We're basically seeing a decent signature. What I like to look for, though, for the big moves that you can count on is this red and green line that changes colors. I like to see that come down and put in a low or a high before the blue and purple line does. But we did get the cross up, we did get the buy signal, so we could see some continuation out of this. But again, depending on the situation, obviously, I don't like to trade against my indicators, especially not at the top of a range. I would rather take a buy at the bottom of a range and then ride it to the top, and if it fails, get stopped out on a position in profit, then take a position at the top of the range, hoping that it breaks out, and then getting stopped out and it just continues to range. Because once you find a range and you find a pattern, that pattern is likely to hold and that range is likely to hold, and then eventually it will break one time. And when it finally breaks, that's a one-time event. But until then, you can sell this resistance, sell this resistance, sell this resistance, sell this resistance, and it'll be a continual good trade. And then finally, when it does break down here, or when it does break up here, you were buying at support in different areas, or you were selling at resistance, so you're already in a good entry into that trade in the direction it does decide, instead of FOMOing in and basically getting unloaded on with some fake out. So, but basically that's what we're looking at right now. We got the breakdown from the area, basically just consolidating, waiting for this pattern to form. It is possible that we continue to sell off, and then what I'm expecting to do is basically get a bounce from there. Let's go ahead and use our fib tool from this swing here, assuming that is our low. See, it's too early to tell. We haven't even made it back up to the 236 retracement yet, which is what we would expect to happen. I'm going to switch this to yellow so it's a little clearer. We would need to basically get a bounce back up to the 8,500 range before we can really start fibbing from this and assume that that was a swing low to get our retracement. And then if we did get the 0.5 retracement, it would take us right back up to the 9,300 range, which a lot of people think we will come back up and test this 9,300 range, but I'm not so confident. Now, normally when you do get a breakout of a pattern, you can get a breakout and then a confirmation and then continuation, or a breakout, confirmation, and continuation. But because the length of this pattern and the size of it and the breakdown volume, and then also like the size of the breakdown, if we would have got a smaller breakdown, come back up and tested it as resistance and then continuation, I think it's more likely than for us to get a massive break like this and then come all the way back up here, find it as resistance, and then dump again. Typically the market's not going to give you like that much of an opportunity to get in and out of trades. A lot of people are trapped at a big loss right now, so you can expect basically that anytime the price moves even remotely close to their entry area, they're going to want to exit their position at either break even or a smaller loss rather than have continuation. And now that we have this channel going on right here, and the bearish pattern has been confirmed, like a lot of us have been saying this whole time. And again, this is my thing about hindsight TA. Everyone's coming back saying this, that, and the other. Remember, look back and tell you who was telling you about all this stuff ahead of time. Who plotted this channel ahead of time? Who told you about the break ahead of time? Who targeted all these moves ahead of time? Just remember that stuff. Go back and watch other people's videos and see, were they saying this stuff ahead of time or are they saying it now? Because I remember about a week ago, everybody was talking about how this was a neutral pattern and this was a bull flag and we were breaking to the upside. I talked about how it was a possibility, but I've been short in this market since previously. I mean, I have shorts from 10.5. I had shorts from even higher, but it closed a lot of them in profit. But regardless, my point is that was a huge move. We've seen it coming. It was literally the exact move from our consolidation breakdown from right here. Potentially a dead cat bounce. We could be headed back down to lower lows. There's no confirmation of that right now, but we're just going to keep our eye on it. We're going to continue to watch these charts and continue to call the moves out before they happen. We don't know exactly where the market's going to head, but we can figure out if it breaks to the upside or if it breaks to the downside, where we can expect to find it at, and we can go ahead and get on its coattails and ride these whales. Guys, thanks a lot for checking us out. Appreciate you tuning in today. Again, that's Bitcoin on the 4-hour/daily Bitstamp chart. And I'm Crypto Trend Trader. And remember here, again, this is not financial advice, but if we get the breakdown even to the heart line from this position, that's 4% on Bitcoin. And if we get it to the bottom of the channel, I think it's probably just from where we're at right now. If we make it to the bottom of the channel, we're looking at about a 9% move. So we have a good possibility for a nice trade set up here right now. And we can go ahead and put in, remember what I said, you can put in a safety trade above the top of that wick right there in case we do get the fake out spring and then the dump, which is always a possibility. So thanks again for tuning in. I'm Crypto Trend Trader, signing off.